Hey Manish, hello. How it's going, man? How it's going?
Hi Sanchit, great man. How are you?
I'm doing great. How it's going? How is lockdown treating you?
It's going pretty well for me actually. So it's like before 12th class, I was with my family and with my school friends. So it's like same right now with the family and the school friends. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not
Okay, cool,
missing
man.
the going to office.
Same here, actually. I think you are also working from Bangalore, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can beat the traffic sitting at home.
yeah.
Okay, like we have people joining in because it's India. People take 5-10 minutes easily. So let's give them some amount of time. Like
Yeah,
let's say, 2 to 3 minutes more, and then we'll start.
sure.
So, yeah, Manish, like till the time people are joining in, like,
Hmm.
I know about you a bit, the college, the companies you have cracked.
Hmm.
Like, I've been through your LinkedIn profile. We have also connected many times now. But I
Hmm.
just, wanted to know more about, your journey, like how you started off, like right from the NIT days and, till now converting into different companies and the role you are doing at Flipkart right now.
So if I start from the beginning, it was quite interesting. Actually, when I first entered the college, and I clearly remember that when I had my first C class, and I was completely blank. I means what this guy is talking about. Like I don't have any knowledge of computer prior to that. In the school days, there's no C subject in my school. And then my friend showed me that blue screen at that time in which we used to write code, C code. And then I got, oh, that's how things are going. And then I got interested in this programming and things. And then from there, in our college, it's like the environment is very important. The seniors are very important. How they
Correct.
guide you. You must have a mentor in your life. Otherwise you can easily get distracted and lose the way. So we have
Correct.
our like lovely seniors in college. They guided us, and they also arranged the DSL Go and the competitive coding workshops and classes for us. And so that's how the journey began. And then in the second year and in the third year, we are in the full pace. uh, we are doing competitive programming regularly. Then after the third year, I also got indulged in machine learning as well. And then after that, in the fourth year, gave interviews of these companies and all. But I choose that startup for starting my journey first.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right. Correct.
yeah.
So, like I think, but your major jobs were also related to machine learning, also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if I talk about Aspiring Minds or Let It Be Samsung, your
Hmm.
journey has started from machine learning and now it has slightly pivoted towards what we can say software engineering.
It's not software engineering only right now also. So first 2 years I dedicated to the machine learning part. I was
Mhm.
doing the core machine learning part, and after that, what I felt is I need a little bit of exposure to the scale, the kind of scale the market deals with, and also to the development part also. So I joined Flipkart. There I have an opportunity to work in the machine learning field plus the development field as well. Currently, we are developing a machine learning platform in Flipkart. So the work
Okay,
is similar to the machine learning only, but it includes the development as well. And
got it,
Flipkart,
got it.
as a very large scale.
Correct, correct. So how's the culture inside, the company? I have always, intrigued by these companies, like let it be Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Dunzo, because, the amount of people they are dealing on a daily basis, it's completely insane. Plus, when it comes to sales like Big Billion sales, like Diwali is coming. So how is the culture, takes transition from a normal working day to the festival sort of days where we are actually expecting a, larger amount of audience?
So across different companies, they have different culture. So when I started with the startup, right? So in the
Correct.
startup, the things were not structured at all. There was no Jira, nothing. You just have to maintain yourself. You have to keep track of your work, and you have means full freedom, but you have to manage yourself. In startup
Correct.
there's no structure at all, and the policies are less, but the environment is good in the startup. You have a small team, everybody knows are you around, and you can communicate with even your manager. He is accessible, he's not uh, far from you, he's just sitting next to
Correct.
you sometimes. But in the Samsung, when you say in Samsung is like a very stable company, right? So
Correct.
it doesn't have. So in Samsung you develop things for a long term. It's not that you code something in the morning and it's going in the evening to the prod. It's not happen in the Samsung. It's very stable company, so
Right.
the environment is a little bit chill there, I would say, and the team is good. But in the Flipkart, on the other hand, there are some scenarios when you code in the morning and you have to put it in the deployment in the evening as well. So it's very fast track there, and you have to be really quick there. And if something goes wrong, you have to really quick to solve it, and you have to be on your toes all the time. So yeah, that's kind of different cultures that I have faced till now.
Yeah, it's like companies like Flipkart or let it be Swiggy, Zomato. There's a special kind of kick which is involved within your job, so
Yeah.
that you know that you have to be on your, like you mentioned, you have to be on your toes every single time. Let it be a chill day or let it be a a hyperactive festive season sale. Anything
Yeah.
can. Okay, awesome. So we have people joined in, Manish with us. I think we can kickstart our session today. So for everyone in the call today, I would like to just introduce you to the flow that we are going to follow for today's session. So me and Manish are going to talk a bit about DS related topics, about interviews, how you can actually prepare for interviews. And then we are going to pivot our section to the jobs, like how actually companies are looking towards candidates. And later on, we are going to open it up for all of you guys so you can directly straight up ask your questions to Manish if you have any personal queries or anything. And apart from that, there is one giveaway involved, which I have been sharing on the mails as well. So this giveaway is actually quite important and quite well curated source of information that I have not created like, in just 1 month or so. I've been preparing this data from past 3 to 4 years. And today I've found like, this is an opportunity I can utilize to share this particular giveaway content to everyone. So it has, interview questions, interview experiences, open courses you can find on internet, some books, some websites for practices, language specific tips, blogs, articles. So a lot of data. It has around 200, 300 links of curated information from around the internet. So I hope you guys will enjoy it. So we'll come to that part later on. But for now, if you guys can just drop a hi to Manish in the chat section, that would be actually great. And maybe tell us from which place you are joining.
Hello,
Yes.
Hello, Manish.
Hi everyone. Hi Anshul.
Is it fine
Hi
if we
Manish.
talk?
Hey Manish, this is Dev. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, Dave. Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah.
Awesome, Manish. So I think we can start with our session for the day. So one thing which I wanted to specially ask to you, that is my personal question. Like, I want you to just explain data structures in 1 single minute, like how you can explain someone data structures, what exactly it is to a person in complete layman language.
So it's very easy. It consists of two terms, data and structures. You have some kind of data with you, and you have some kind of structure. So you have to keep your data in some kind of a structure, whether it's a linear structure or it's a non-linear structure. So basically, the work of the structure is to make your data easily accessible or to store it easily. So that's data structure. You have to put your data in some kind of a structure, like you put normal things in some kind of a structure. You put your utensils in kind of a stack way. That's a stack data structure. This is,
Got it, man. Very,
yeah.
very nicely put. So yeah, like I just want to, move forward towards the next question we have. That is, what is your data structures preparation strategy you follow when you are preparing for, interviews?
So for that, I think it totally depends upon one's goal and the time that you have. So if I say that you are in a second year of your college or in third year of your college, so the placement company usually comes in the fourth year college. So you have quite a long time with you, right? So you can devote that time very strategically, starting from the basics, and then developing the advanced data structures. And if I say that how to prepare for it, so first step is get a good grasp on a one programming language. This is the must thing that everyone should have. After that, you should have that kind of mentality that whatever you think in your mind, you should be able to code that. And then data structures are just a concept. You can go to that concepts, you can understand that, and if you have the ability to code, you can code it. So this is the what you have to follow. You have to be good in one programming language at least, and you should be able to write what's in your mind into the code, and then understand those data structures. Then you can easily. But if you are like in fourth year of your college and you haven't done any data structures till now, and you have a very less time, so it's like uh, you have to be, in that case also it's similar, right? You have to be good in one programming language at least. Yeah.
Awesome, got it. So, just one point you mentioned, like, getting a hold of one programming language. But, even after, getting a gist of one programming language, how to choose which data structure or algorithm to use for a particular problem, like how to make that particular right choice just by seeing the problem and not actually attempting and, getting a gist, okay, like this data structure is going to work well with this algorithm.
Okay. So it's like when you get a problem of data structures or algorithms in your interview, or say in any coding competition or anywhere. So first thing is, when you study the data structures, each data structure has some kind of property with them. Like they can be used for linear cases only, array, linked list, and this. And there are some non-linear, the tree, they have their own property. They optimize the search. You can easily search in a tree, and you can easily store data in a tree in a less time. But whereas in a linked list, the search takes long time, and insertion takes a very less time. So each data structure has its own property. First, you should be comfortable with that and knowing that. Once you know that, then you approach the problem, and then you will know according to the constraints that problem have. If the constraints is also very important. If the problem has constraints which requires you to solve the problem in linear time, then you will use that kind of data structure. You have to map the properties of data structure with your problem, right? This is one point. Another is constraints. As I mentioned, also constraints play a very important role. So they have a very good information. If you see constraints, so sometimes they can tell you that which algorithm works for this question. So let me give you an example about this. So say if you have in general, in 1 second there are 10 raised to power 8 operations that can be performed in normal programming languages. Okay. And now if you have some constraints in your question, say 10 raised to power 18, it taking 10 raised to power 18 operations, means the limit is that there are number of elements is 10 raised to power 18. Then it's clear that you cannot use linear functions in there. You have to use some algorithm which cuts down it to some log n of complexity. So you always keep an eye on the constraints. They will tell you that which algorithm is going to be used. Is it going to be linear? Is it going to be some log n algorithm, like binary search works in log n, or is it going to some n log n? So these type of constraints can help you with the problem and actually tell you sometimes that which algorithm or data structure you should use.
Correct, got it. I believe, the point you mentioned is completely well, but starting off approaching towards a problem is actually, not just jump to coding and start, using coding, is actually sit down and relax for a while and actually understand the problem, like what are these constraints, define them in a proper way, and then move towards approaching towards a solution.
Yeah.
Got it.
One
One
more
more
thing.
problem. Yeah, go ahead.
So when people approach problem, there are two ways basically to approach some problem. One is so if you have some experience in coding, then you must have faced many questions in your past. So one direct way is to like try to map this problem with a previous problem you have solved in your past. If you sense that this kind of problem, there is a similar kind of problem I have solved in the past, and you can remember that what kind of solution worked there, then you can state words jump to that kind of solution for this problem also and try to solve in that way. If this is the first approach and the most effective approach, if you have seen such kind of problem, then straight away go with that thing. Don't have to devise some new solution. But if completely new problem comes in front of you and you have no idea that I haven't seen this problem, what should I do, then you should try to break down that problem in smaller pieces and try to solve those pieces and then build up your problem.
Got it, got it. Totally understood. One problem I've seen a lot of students facing is that, even after solving 100, 200 problems, let it be from CodeChef, LeetCode, or any other website, still there people are not able to figure out these new problems, like how to actually approach towards a problem. Because if the problem they have solved in the past, they are very good with it. They just, utilize the same thing and then they code it again. But as soon as some new problem comes up to their mind and they are like blank completely. So how to approach that kind of a problem?
Okay, so there is a concept in machine learning which is called overfitting. So if your model gets overfit, it doesn't generalize well on the new data. So this is some kind of problem which is happening with these guys that you mentioned. They are good with whatever problems they did, but they are not able to pick up the new problems. So what could be the problem here with them is either they are cramming the concepts or either they are cramming the problems. Many people do that to crack the interviews. They just cram the problems on the Geeks for Geeks and other things. Either they are doing that, which is wrong, I said. But if you're not cramming things, so it's not that if after solving 100 and 200 problems of every concept, then it's not possible that every new problem you face in every concept you will you are not able to do that. This cannot happen, that you are not able to solve any new problem, right? There are few concepts like the dynamic programming or some greedy algorithms you are their questions you are not able to solve. I can understand that one or two cases are there, one or two approaches are there which you didn't understand, and their new problems you are not able to understand. But if you are not able to solve any problem, then there is some problem with your understanding. Either you are cramming things or you are not understanding the basics of these data structures. There
So
is
like if I, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, tell me.
So yeah, like if I just summarize what you just said, so like if someone is facing this problem, it's always fine to go back to the basics, pick out your books, and then start going through the concepts once again, and then maybe approach the problem once again.
So yeah, that means first don't cram things. That's not going to help you. Understand the basics and then do some problems related to that. Then try the new problems if you understand the concept. If you are not able to do the problems after actually understanding the concept, take a notebook, write the theory of the concept in it, and then again comes to the problem. You will definitely able to solve that problem, or a part of that problem you are able to solve. It's not that you will be completely blank if you understand the basics.
Got it, got it. Totally understood. Now, one more question I have over here is that what if student is still not able to solve a particular problem? So what would you suggest? Like, how much time after they can, look towards a solution? There are times when we are actually not able to approach a solution to a problem, right? So what is that time frame? Maybe after 2 hours of, hard work or something like that.
That's a very good question, Sanchit, because many people waste their time this way. They spend too much time on single problem, and they are not their strategy is not effective in this way. So it depends upon your goal. Let me tell you, if you have a very limited amount of time, your interview is coming next week or next month, you have very limited set of time, right? You cannot waste your whole day on one problem. So the approach, if your interview is very nearby, is you get a problem, you spend some time on problem, you are able to solve it, good. If you are not able to solve it, you have to spend 30 minutes on that, not more than 30 minutes. If you are able to solve it in 30 minutes, good. Otherwise, go for the solution. So this is the approach for people whose interview is nearby, whose interview is next week. They have to get through the maximum problems But if you are someone who's interview or who is planning in the long term, so what's the right approach? They also don't have to spend the whole day on single problem. So the recommended strategy for them is spend 30 minutes on a problem. See if you are able to make some progress on that problem. If you are able to make some logical progress towards the solution, then give 15 minutes more to yourself. In that 15 minutes, see if you are able to get more progress in that area or not. If you are getting progress, spend 15 more minutes. At the time when you get completely blank, that I'm not getting anything, even after seeing a hint also I'm not getting anything, then you go for the solution. But if you are getting progressing in that area, you should like try out, struggle a bit there if you have the time. So I've told you two strategies, one for the long term and one for the short term.
Awesome, man. I want to pick up one more point from the answer you just mentioned over here is the company side of it. Like, for example, uh, I have my interview next week, right? So
Yeah.
what? So like, how is company actually preparing in those like 1 week about the time when consider yourself as an interviewer, like you want to interview in 1 week. So what is your strategy for that one particular week? Like what questions, how do actually company interviewers prepare questions, or maybe they prepare themselves for the interview?
So I have also taken many interviews in my companies. So
Yeah, that
they
is why
will,
I thought
yeah,
like you are the right person right
yeah.
here to ask this question.
So to be honest, the interviewer will not spend much time. It's like weeks time for your interview only. They will spend hardly a 1 day preparing some questions that they are going to ask the next day. And the way the generally the interviewers select the questions is from low difficulty to the high difficulty. They try to like give you a easy question first and see if you are able to, or if you are fast enough to solve them or not. If you are very fast and if you are very good, they'll give you the question according to your ability and try to check what's your capability. Try to check at what cap you are going in the coding. So that's the general approach of the interviewers. Start from the easy one and build from there and see what's the potential of the candidate.
Got it, totally understood. One point over here is that when I was talking to you before everyone joined in about the culture at Flipkart and everything,
Mhm.
data structures is one core thing that is obviously required in an SDE job for sure. But how do these two things, like data structures and development, because there are aspects around data structures as well. You have to consider the network optimization and everything around that. So how do these things go hand in hand when you work in a big organization like let it be Flipkart?
So development is a very vast area, Sanchit. You cannot summarize it in one word or in one thing. So some people do and some people do web development. Some people do front end, back end. Some people work on the kernel level also, and some people work in the machine learning area type things. Some people do scripting. There are many things in the development, and at the times you have a choice every time when you are when you have a very big data in your hand, say. So you have a choice that how do you read that data, how do you process the data. As I told you in the programming also, there are constraints with you. If you have very larger constraints, then you have to optimize your approach, how to go forward. That in the similar way, you will face problems in your daily life. You have a large amount of data, large amount of customers sometimes coming to your service. In that way, the DS or the coding or the problem solving skills help you there. How you approach the problem there, that will help you surely.
Correct. So basically, all these competitive programmings that we do are, 4 years of journey in our college. It actually helps us build our logic brain, first of all.
Yeah.
So how to approach towards a problem. And then this practice actually makes us work well in companies where actually real-time problems come in real-time scenarios.
Well, that's I think that's the strategy of the company or the mentality of these companies. Many people ask these questions, why the company are only asking DS and algos in their question in their interviews. Many people don't use it afterwards. Well, it shows your how you approach any problem in your life in any area.
Correct,
It
correct.
shows
And
the
same
ability of
holds,
problem solving.
yeah, and same holds good for, these aptitude questions which are coming in, company exams. this
Yeah.
also tests the same thing. And I have been asked this from students many times, like why they are asking questions related to cat or gmat in something that is relation with coding. And I always tell them, like, this is why they are doing it, because they are just testing your ability, whether you are able to react to the problems or not.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
got
not
it, got
looking for robots
it. Correct.
who just know some kind
Absolutely
of
right.
a technology.
Got it. One thing I don't know, like from what all streams we have people today, but just someone who is not from a computer science or IT domain, like how would you recommend them to start their journey if they want to learn DS? Like
Uh,
someone from, you have seen people from EC branch are cracking a lot of computer science jobs. So what is that one thing or two things or maybe a keynote you can tell them?
so I have many friends from in particular IITs which have like textile industry as their main branch, and then they went around learning coding and clearing their interviews. So what their experience has been is what they have done or is first the language itself. They have to learn some language, right? And then they have to struggle a bit, but they everybody learns programming is not much the learning a particular language is not much hard. So here the same thing, learn first a language, and then go with the ds and algos are just concepts according to me. So if someone told you, if someone told me that okay, this is how I'm going to putting my data in a tree form, one data here, then below it two things, then below it two other things, this is how I'm going to put it. And if someone is comfortable in any language, then he is able to like code what is in mind, then he is able to easily implement that data structure for him. So go for the one programming language and the develop that ability. Whatever you thought, are you able to write a code for it, or are you able to judge that this code is not possible in this particular language, or are you able to see the problem? That's very
Got it,
important
got
for the people who are not from the CS branch as well.
it. Understood. I believe, like, getting a hold of one programming language is, a golden tip we can share in today's session. And this holds good for everyone. Let it be a software engineer or someone from CSIT branch or an electrical engineer from EC or Triple E branch. One quick note, guys, everyone in the call today, is that if you have any questions towards whatever we are discussing, just feel free to drop them in the chat box. We are going to definitely pick each one of them in the later half of the session. And if you're watching it later on sometime on the YouTube, you can go ahead as well. No problem. Just drop your questions in the chat box. Also, I'm dropping the links to our social handles. So maybe you can go out and check out our work over there. Moving forward, Manish, pretty going good till now. I want to move towards, slightly an interview part right now, and just want to discuss a few things like what is required to clear DS interviews and what do students need to learn and how.
So it's a general right to clear any DS interview. You must have. Let me emphasize this: good understanding of DS and a lot of practice of those DS problems. And then you must have understanding of the basic algorithms like binary search, different sorting algorithms, gradient DP, dynamic programming, backtracking, bit manipulations, only the basic ones. And same with the DS also, data structures only, the basic ones only, array, linked list, stack, queue, tree, graph, tries, not the advanced one. Don't go for the advanced algorithms, don't go for the advanced data structures if your goal is only to clear the interview of the companies. They are not going to ask you anything advanced data structures or advanced algorithms. They are just going to check your basics. That's it. Stick to them, prepare for them. Don't go
Correct,
for
correct.
segment tree, red black tree. You will never be asked those kind of concepts.
I think together we have also given around 7 to 8 interviews. And personally, both of us have never been asked a question to draw something on a red black tree or something like that. Never. It's
Never. Everybody learns programming. Programming is not much. The learning a particular language is not much hard. So here the same thing. Learn first a language, and then go with the DS and algos. DS and algos are just concepts according to me. So if someone told me that, okay, this is how I'm going to putting my data in a tree form, one data here, then below it two things, then below it two other things, this is how I'm going to put it. And if someone is comfortable in any language, then he is able to like code what is in mind, then he is able to easily implement that data structure for him. So go for the one programming language and the develop that ability. Whatever you thought, are you able to write a code for it, or are you able to judge that this code is not possible in this particular language, or are you able to see the problem? That's very
Got it.
important for the people who are not from the CS branch as well.
Understood. I believe, like, getting a hold of one programming language is, a golden tip we can share in today's session. And this holds good for everyone. Let it be a software engineer, or someone from CSIT branch, or an electrical engineer from EC or EEE branch. One quick note, guys, everyone in the call today, is that if you have any questions towards whatever we are discussing, just feel free to drop them in the chat box. We are going to definitely pick each one of them in the later half of the session. And if you're watching it later on sometime on the YouTube, you can go ahead as well. No problem. Just drop your questions in the chat box. Also, I'm dropping the links to our social handles. So maybe you can go out and check out our work over there. Moving forward, Manish, pretty going good till now. I want to move towards, slightly an interview part right now. And just want to discuss a few things, like what is required to clear DS interviews, and what do students need to learn, and how.
So it's a general right to clear any DS interview. You must have. Let me emphasize this: good understanding of DS and a lot of practice of those DS problems. And then you must have understanding of the basic algorithms like binary search, different sorting algorithms, greedy and DP, dynamic programming, backtracking, bit manipulations, only the basic ones. And same with the DS also, data structures only, the basic ones only: array, linked list, stack, queue, tree, graph, tries, not the advanced one. Don't go for the advanced algorithms, don't go for the advanced data structures if your goal is only to clear the interview of the companies. They are not going to ask you anything advanced data structures or advanced algorithms. They are just going to check your basics. That's it. Stick to them, prepare for them. Don't go for segment tree, red black tree. You will never be asked those kind of concepts.
I think together we have also given around 7 to 8 interviews. And personally, both of us have never been asked a question to draw something on a red black tree or something like that. Never.
Never.
To draw a red black tree on Amazon interview. Sorry.
Okay, moving forward, I just want to ask about platforms you can suggest for someone who want to start competitive programming.
Okay. So competitive programming, I would recommend Codeforces for sure. Above any other platform, we have many platform, CodeChef as well, and HackerEarth, HackerRank, but I will suggest definitely Codeforces. They have a very good system, they have very good tutorials after the competition is over, and their problems are logically arranged from low difficulty to the high difficulty, and their problems are around the algorithms only. And when in the CodeChef or the other websites, some in the CodeChef, I have seen that they will form the question around some mathematical concept and then give it to you, and you will find it, you will spend your whole day thinking how to solve it, and later you will find out that there is this kind of a formula or this kind of mathematical understanding that was missing. So I would recommend Codeforces for sure.
Okay, cool. What is the role of dynamic programming in, specifically if we talk about interviews?
So dynamic programming is a very interesting concept. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's the truth. Some people understand it, some are not able to understand it after many practices, after a lot of practices also. But it's also true that it is asked frequently in interviews. So I would recommend is at least do the standard dynamic programming problems. If you are, even if you are not comfortable, then try to do those standard problems. There are standard problems in dynamic programming available in Geeks for Geeks and many platforms. So at least do those standard programming problems, right? That would be helpful and can clear the interviews for you. But it is
got
asked. It's a very important concept.
Got it. Okay, now moving forward towards, something like relating to the preparation of how to get your resume shortlisted and, things to keep in mind on the interview day itself. Like any tips you would like to share here?
So basic how to get resume shortlisted is like so if you are going for a technical job profile, so they only want to see your technical part mostly, generally. Nobody gives much care what you have been doing in extracurricular or what are your hobbies. They don't. This is the truth. They will straightforward look into your work experience or in your projects and your skills. These three parts are most important things. And the education also, from the college effect is there. If you are from a tier 1 college, IIT, NIT, it will surely give you an edge. But if it's not, if you are from some tier 2 or tier 3 college, then I'll recommend to get your resume shortlisted, make some good projects, and explain your work experience clearly. So this is the one. This is, listen to it, guys. So how when you write your work experience or when you write your project, be very specific. So say if you have a project, so say related, so you have made some chatbot in your company, in your previous company, like I have built one. So give the title, then 3 points you need to mention there, like what you did specifically, then how you did, and what is the impact. These 3 points are very important, and it will give a clear picture to the person who is seeing your resume. So like what you did, like I made an open-ended chatbot in my company. How you did, name the algorithms, name the technology, name the database that you use, name the approaches that you took. Then what's the impact? For instance, you improved some timing using your service or whatever you developed, or you increase the company's profit. You have to write your project in such a way, like what's the impact that you created with it. So these 3 points are very important when writing your project in your resumes, so that the other person see and clearly knows that this is what he had done. And yeah, this is the one thing. Then the skills, your skills you should mention, and the skills, try to align them with the job profile. Yeah.
Understood. I really like the point where you mentioned, how one can actually tell their technical skills and align it with the business goals. Because at the end of the day, who is going to screen out the resumes is somewhere has a business goal in his mind, and so on. He's going to hire a person or maybe interview a person. So I really like the point where one can mention his technical skills and align it with the business goals of the company. Like for example, they developed a particular homepage, let it be Facebook newsfeed, and the download time of the news on the screen is improved 10x. So that is a key metrics that they can share that help them improve the business logic, as well as shows a technical skills. Okay, there must be some logic behind that has increased the performance this much.
Yeah, it's important. You have to show the impact what you have created. And guys, one more important tip. Currently also many people mention in their resumes that they mean that they made the library management system or hotel management systems. Please don't go for those projects. Nobody like those projects in your resume, and they will not create any impact. Please drop. I have seen many resumes, people are still writing those. Just cut them from your list. There are many other projects that you can easily make, but not
So
those.
just a quick note: if anyone in the call is going to apply to Flipkart, and if Manish is going to review your resume, make sure you don't include that.
Or present in such a way that you have done something new in that area, because these are coming from very long time.
Correct, absolutely. I want to move ahead, Manish, from here, and I want to talk about slightly how one can go forward in applying off campus.
Yeah,
Like you mentioned about,
Sanchit.
yeah.
there we missed something. You asked for the tip from the interview day, right?
Yeah, got it, got it. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the interview day is very critical, right? So there can be a scenario that your interview drive is going to happen in the one day, or it's going to divide it into 2 days. So if it's this scenario that you have a 2 day drive, I would recommend go try to go on the second day, and try to contact the people who have gone in the first day, and this would definitely help. Some questions or some coding part or some initial test that they give, it's usually get repeated on the second day as well. So this is the very important recommendation. It has worked for many people. Try to go on the second day of the drive if your drive is happening on multiple days. Another important tip is when you go for the interview on the interview day, is try to get your interviews done prior, means on early basis. Like try to go first in the interview if you have the choice. Don't wait for to go in the last. So interviewers are only like humans only, right? They got tired with the time, and I have seen people, they are just after at the end of the day they are taking interview very lightly, and they are like, they doesn't care about the who is coming to give the interview, and then they will ask you some light questions and then okay. But it's very important that you schedule your interviews at the early part of the day. Yeah, that's very important. I can't emphasize how important it is. It has worked very well for me in my interviews. The early interviews
Got it.
are very important. Yeah.
Totally understood. Manish, if you'd like to take the off-campus part along with this question as well.
Okay. So how to apply for off-campus is there is a very bitter truth here that tier 1 and tier 2, the college has an effect on it, right? So if you're belonging from a tier 1 and tier 2 college, NIT, IIT, or BITS, you the recruiters easily like to hire you. But if you are from tier 3, you may have to make some struggle, you have to connect with more people, right? But don't get discouraged. So one important platform is our LinkedIn. It's a very good platform. Try to connect with the people who in the companies where you want to work. And one important note is try to connect with them with a personalized message. If you send them a connection request, your message should be personalized. You should write a message to them along with your connection request. Like Sanchit, when you have contacted me on the LinkedIn, I would not have there was a lot of connection requests that I was getting. I selected your because you have some message with your connection request for me. So if you are not sending a connection message, nobody is going to accept you. People are very busy these days. So one is LinkedIn. Send a small note about why do you want to connect with them. This is very important. Another is your seniors. So when you are in college, so please make good connection with your seniors. Try to have a strong bonding with them, because when they go out and you are still in the college, so they are in some form, they can refer you there easily. So this is very important resource for you, your seniors. Try to connect with them, ask them to refer in their companies. That's how you apply offline. Another is the websites like naukri.com and other these websites. There also you can apply off campus. And then the company career pages, it's obvious that, but there are there are less chances from company career page, but still you can make it. And one more important tip for off campus is be unstoppable. You have to apply at multiple places. You have to do like maybe 100 applications. You have to be unstoppable in that. Yeah, these are the tips for the off campus.
Got it. I want to go one step backward from here, and I want to talk about internships a bit. For people in their second year of colleges, third year of colleges, how important is an internship, and what kind of an internship one should go for? They should choose something with better work, or they should choose something with a better company name, or a mix of both. So what is your take on that?
So the choice is very clear. If you say that a better name or better work for internship, please go for the better work only. It will add to your resume. And this point also comes in the resume shortlisting. If you have a good internship, you have done a good internship and it's in your resume, then your resume will stand out also. So in that part, internships are important. But I would say here is that if you are looking for a job in a company and you haven't done DS Algo till now, till end of your third semester, third year, you haven't done DS Algo and you're planning to go for an internship, that won't help you much, because you have to first clear the coding rounds of any company before going to the project round or the other round where you can explain your internship, right? So if you are at the end of third year and you haven't DSL Go, I can say that first go for the DSNL Go, then the internship. But if you have done DS and Algo basics, or if you are in the second year of your college, then you must go for the you should go for the internships. They are very important. They will give you they will act as a work experience in the resume of a fresher. A fresher doesn't have any work experience, but internships give them that kind of a experience, and your resume will definitely stand out if you have done a good internship.
Agreed, totally agreed. One important point I would like to mention from one of my past interviews is that, when you put an internship in your resume, so a lot of questions interview is going to ask is based around that internship only. Maybe it can be a project, it can be an internship. So that is a good plus point for you as well, because you have actually done the work. So it's always, easy to answer something you have done in the past rather than, going and jumping into a straight up new problem. So that trick has actually helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome, Manish. I would like to move forward towards the company side of the jobs. Like, one question we have received in the Google form itself is that someone has asked, like, can we get jobs only specific to competitive coding?
So can you elaborate that? But
Yeah, maybe like, the questions like on HackerRank, CodeChef. So these type of questions only, can we get a job around this particular domain rather than maybe someone is trying to get rid of this development part a bit? So are these jobs available, or there are like just one job that is problem setting for these websites?
so if I clearly understand, you are asking that can we get a job only with the data structures and algorithms, not with the development? Is that what you are
Yeah,
asking?
we can say that. Yeah, correct.
So there are companies like Amazon, I say, Flipkart, Google, and many more, which which only ask coding in their interviews, which only ask these DS and algo problems in their interviews. Sometimes there is zero interview for their project. Sometimes there is at one project round, but mostly they have all the rounds, coding rounds. So you can definitely, if you are good in coding, you can definitely make for them.
Okay.
I think what they meant was that you don't have to do the development work and you just do competitive coding your life. Is there any such company that can provide us that?
Sorry, Anshul, can you elaborate on that?
Like what normal people do in companies, they do develop some work on some projects.
Mhm.
So the question, what I could understand from it, they meant to say that we don't want to do that development work. We want to stay solving or building these questions like competitive coding. They want to stay in this domain, not any other domain.
Well, if in well, there can be few companies, if you like, I think what I am getting from this is like there are some platforms which only teach you data structures. There are things like you can be a mentor on an academy also. You can be a mentor in Coding Ninja also. There you go and be a mentor and teaching people data structures. But I don't think without development you can actually build something. Building any product or building anything is called development. I think it's very basic in that sense.
Yes, yes.
Correct. Understood. Also one more job profile, if someone is looking for that particular thing, is being a problem setter at these websites like HackerRank or HackerEarth or something like that. There are openings on the website. You can just go out and find over there. Okay, Manish, I want to talk something about your experiences. Like, what is the hiring process you have been faced by different companies? Like, let it be Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle, or anything you have been faced before. Anything of your experience you would like to share with the people?
So in my experience, I have faced broadly three kinds of categories of companies. First, there are companies which are like top MNCs companies, and they generally do mostly their rounds on coding rounds. They have like 3 rounds of coding, and then last round is some kind of HR, a very basic HR round. So there is this is the one kind of companies, and they may have sometimes very few times they can have one round on your project also, but mostly they focus on the coding only. So this is one category where they only ask coding, DS and Algo. And then there are startups. We have startups. So startup is something. In startup, you like an individual person has to take a lot of responsibility, and the startup are looking for some kind of people who have done some kind of a development also, who has some kind of a real world work also. So they will definitely take 1 or 2 rounds of your DS and Algo. Then they will definitely want you to be have some done some good project or good internship. And sometimes startups also give you an assignment to do before hiring you. They'll give you some small assignment that, let's see what this guy is saying is if he is actually able to build something. So this is the strategy of startups. And another kind of companies is like they ask some coding plus some subjects as well in their interviews, and sometimes design rounds also there. For instance, Microsoft has this thing. So they do some coding rounds. First 1 or 2 are the coding rounds, then third round sometimes you can get a design round, which can be a little bit difficult for a fresher if you haven't prepared. So this is the third category. And sharing from my experience about these all three companies, because I have appeared in all three kind of these things. So what's my experience with my Amazon is like first round straightforward, a basic round where you will get where I get a simple kind of a binary search kind of a problem. They ask me to do it on the paper only. And then second round, some a little bit high, means some kind of some medium question is there, a tree based question is there. And the third round is also a medium type of a question is there. So this is the and this is the Amazon's experience of mine, that you have 3 rounds straight coding rounds, no project, nothing. If you clear those 3 rounds, then you are hired. If not, you're not. And then I have done for startups, I have given interviews of aspiring minds and one or more 2 startups. So in the startups, first they have a basic coding round. Their coding round is very basic uh, for the startups. Then they discuss about, in the second round, discuss about what project you have done. And and the whatever startup I have applied for, they at the end of the interview process, they have asked me, they have given me some kind of assignment to do as well, like build this small service for us, let's see. And one startup also like told me to do a 1 week internship with them to implement a research paper for them, to see if I can be a perfect fit for them. So this kind of experience with the startup. And then there was third is with Microsoft only. So when we so Microsoft, so it can be dependent on your day also. So in Microsoft, what happened is first round was very easy. So and this basic coding round. Second round was also coding, but third round was design round. And I was not good at that time with the design part, very good. But some people at the third round also, some people got an interviewer who is asking them coding only. So it depends upon you. But these three kind of companies you will always face. So be prepared for three kind of things, like project, DSL Go, sometimes design. Not recommended to do much focus on design, but coding and project you should prepare for.
Okay, very very nicely. You have break these three into 3 points. I want to understand, what is the other people sitting on the other side of the table, like what is the company psychology behind hiring candidates?
So the company psychology is, or the other guy who's, so first of all, he sees your resume, he sees nothing. So uh, first is he wants to make sure that whatever you have written in your resume, you are that person. You have not written something, and if you have written some project, you must know that project. If he asks you something in from your resume and you are not able to answer, then it's more likely that you are rejected at that point only. So that, and related to the coding round, they want just people to be good in fundamentals. They want that at least people should be good in fundamentals, then like basic binary search. Like when I was taking interviews, and when I have also given interviews of many companies, many people just start from a simple binary search question to see if the guy is able to solve this only. If they are not able to pass the basic level, then they are straightway rejected from there only. So I think the company's perspective is that you should be good in your fundamentals, and whatever you write in your resume, you should be knowing that. If you are not qualified on these 2 points, then there are very less chances that you will crack that interview.
Understood, totally understood. We have a lot of questions flowing in the chat, so I would like to take them before I complete my list of questions. But one thing before I pick up these questions is that I would like to tell everyone who joined in late about the giveaway we are doing today. So guys, we have prepared a curated source of information around data structures, algorithms, interview experiences, books, online courses, and a lot of it. It's a complete document of more than 200 links that are freely accessible on the internet. So you can just go ahead and uh, check out these links. So I will be dropping a note how actually you can access this giveaway in the chat section below. And me by Manish, you can start go ahead with the questions in the chat section. I think we have the first one from Dev.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, correct.
So Dev's question is, if he got some coding problem, what should be his approach or strategy? So Dev, the approach or strategy from my experience is look into your past first. If you have done similar kind of problem, then you try to apply that kind of approach to that problem. If you are able to solve it, very good. But if some kind of a new problem comes in front of you, for example, in my case, when I gave the interview of Flipkart, in the second DSL the person gave me some kind of problem that I haven't solved. So you should not be nervous at that time, and you should not be applying the first approach where you look in your past and try to map that problem. If the problem is looks completely new to you, then the second approach is break down the problem. Use the first principle. The first principle says if you ever face a complex problem, break down it into smaller parts till you get a part of a problem that, okay, this part of a problem I am able to solve. So for instance, in the Flipkart interview, I got a tree based problem where I have to find some kind of a distance or a sum between two nodes, which can be any nodes. And in the tree, there can be positive and negative nodes also. So I was completely unaware of the problem. So what I did is I said to the interview that let's assume that the tree has only positive nodes, and let's also assume that we don't have to find between any two nodes. We have to find from root to any another node. So I break down the problem into the simpler problem. Then I also included the cases where the negative nodes are present. Then I also include the case when when we are not going from root to another node, when we are going from node to node. So this kind of approach you follow when you face a new problem. Try to break it down and then start building from the smaller pieces. I hope your question is answered. And
so one following questions to that is that when you are given a problem, right? So how would you approach it? Like, I mean, one would directly go on writing the most optimal solution, and one would think other way.
Okay.
Write the brute force solution, right?
Yeah. Thanks there for the question. It helps all of the people. So if you are given a problem, interview ask you a problem, don't straightforward jump into the solution. First read the problem, get all the details related to the problem from the interviewer will not tell you each and every detail. He expect you to like understand the problem and see what's missing and ask him the cross questions. Okay sir, what's if this is the scenario, then what will happen, what should I get all the details from the interviewer. This is your first approach. Get all the things but you need to solve that problem. Think about different cases and see, ask him questions like if this is the situation, what's your expectations. When you get that all the things, that all the requirements for your problem, then try, if even if you know the solution that this is the most optimal solution, don't straight away give that. Start from a basic brute force one. Okay, and then slowly give him the optimization solution. Dave, is that answer?
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. We have next question from Payal, and she's asking like what level of data structures are used in companies, and how do you decide what is the right DS for a project?
So Pile, it depends upon your use case specifically. If you are working in some kind of a web development scenario, then maybe you don't have, maybe in your use case you don't have much use of those typical DS concepts. But it may majorly depends upon your use case. And what I recommend here is if you practice the DS and if you understand basic concepts, that what things are used where, like which things which data structure should we use in linear type of things, which like some data structures support searching quickly, some support insertion in a very small time, some supports like searching in a small time, some supports deletion in a small time, some takes large time to delete. So you need to be aware about these concepts of DS, and according to your use case, whatever use case you get, then you should like map these two things. I can't say that for this kind of solutions you will always use this kind of a DS. You have to be, that's why there comes the great understanding of DS. You have to be fundamentally very clear, and when a new use case comes, and believe me, in the software engineering every day you will face some kind of a new problem and a new use case, and then you have to apply your knowledge. You will
Correct.
not have all the answers every time.
Absolutely right. Even when we are performing the same problem, there might be some scenarios involved that is with respect to the data flowing in and flowing out from the application, and that might cause some other scenarios that for that you have to again go back to the fundamentals and check, okay, this scenario is working fine, this is not. Right. So we have next question from Anshul, and we have actually three followed questions from him. So Anshul, if you would like to unmute yourself and ask, so I think that would be better. You can actually approach it well. Is Anshul on the call?
Yeah, he's in the call. Anshul?
Okay, fine. We can actually pick up the first question. It's a small one. So why do interviewers not judge on the basis of the technologies a person know, and how quickly one is able to convert a business requirement to code?
So I won't say that like most interview means it depends. Like I said that startups usually do this. They always have an assignment for you in the end to check your ability. And likewise in the Flipkart also, from my Flipkart experience also, there's a first round, there is a machine coding round. So in that round they will give you some requirements, and they will they will ask you to make a modular code about it and quickly turn the requirements into the implementations. So some companies do see it, but if companies are like hiring on a very large scale and there are thousands of candidates, then surely they like maybe they are not like they cannot give an assignment to each and everyone, or then so they like do these kind of coding interviews, and they just check on the basic understanding of how the guy is. This is just my opinion, but I think this is the general psychology of the companies. But startups do that usually. They always check a person's ability to turn some requirement into a working code.
Okay. So we have one more followed question by Anshul. That is actually, if I summarize this question, is basically he's saying that a lot of developers usually, feel that there is only one data structure required, that is array, that is during their entire career span. So what is the need of learning all the other data structures we have?
So it is true in some fields or in some particular domains, people don't use much data structures apart from arrays. In some use cases they use it a lot. But if you have two candidates, Anshul, in front of you, one who has very good understanding of these data structures and one who has not, uh, and the company has also decided that this is the parameters that they are going to be used to judge the candidate, then they will surely select the person who already knows it. And it's some kind of a wrong. I would not say that this is a right strategy, but this is the truth of companies right now, that this is what they followed. I strongly also believe that a person's ability to convert the requirements into a working code is very important. How he has done internships or how has done prior projects, it's very important. But it's true that most of the companies still look into the coding aspect only, and yeah,
Got it. So
but that's
another
how it is.
followed up question from Anshul only, that
Hmm.
is, uh, how often do you find yourself people using uh, fancy trees, or maybe, maybe he's talking about the same thing again, that how often do you see people using data structures like trees and graphs into practical life applications?
Yeah, he's right actually. He's so so if there is, yeah, we don't reinvent the wheel every time, right? So but in my experience, when I was in my first startup, and we were building something which was not already present there. We were working on a chat bot to assess the people who have come for like call center interviews or like support system interviews, and then there we are evaluating on some kind of a metrics. So that metrics, I actually use the dynamic problem programming to evaluate like what is the requirements and what how they have performed, and I was aligning the ideal and the candidate's performance with each other. So I was using some modification of an edit distance which was not present anywhere, which is the first time I use some data structure in the real project. Sometimes you may face, but most of the times Anshul is correct that you don't reinvent the wheel. And but also you, even if the things are already built, you need to have an understanding before apply that. Anshul?
Hmm. What I was going to ask. So basically, we need to understand, either we understand data structure or we understand that thing. So that use case you mentioned, I'm sure there will be things that you can use to do this. So we had a problem which was assigning some task to a set of person. So we were doing it ourselves. Then later on, after some time, we found that there is some thing called Opta Planner on the internet, which does it better. It has more flexibility, so we use that. So we always find such things that initially we build something and then we say this is not working out. So we look on the internet and we always find something that will work better for our use case, and we end up again using something that is not built by us.
I agree with your point, Anshul, but the things that you're saying that someone has already built, those someone are also software engineers only. They have worked it. So I understand that you will do use these data structures like very rarely, but like as you can see that the people who have built the other better solutions are not human beings from other planet. They are the software engineers like ourselves only. So someday maybe you are building something which others are going to use, and yeah.
Yes, so how likely do you think that will be, that one of us will be going to build something with the help of these data structures that other are going to use?
So I think it's rare. It's not very frequently, because some you see that there's a lot of problems have been solved, and then people are reusing those things. The chances are very less, but you should know the basics of those things before using them, right?
Yes.
One
Agreed.
need to have an basic understanding before applying the things.
Yes, we should at least have some idea that such thing exists, and then we can later, when requirement comes, we can read it on the internet and implement. That's
Yeah.
fine.
There's a common meme in market these days, like, if everything is in the Stack Overflow and the solution, then why do we need engineers? Like, but we need engineers to find that right solution which works in their use case only. We
To
need that
read
kind
that
of
also.
intelligence.
Okay. We have next question that is from Devi Lal Bishnoi, and he's asking like if you can share some of your Amazon interview experience if you are comfortable with.
So as I've also already shared, so the first round is the coding round, which I gave from my home only. So basically, there are two questions, I think, and the simple ones. And then in the first round, there's a pen and paper round, and there were people. So they a little bit ask about me and what I did in the past, and then they straight away give me one binary search question, and uh, and then I was able to write the solution. And in the second round, I was given a tree-based question, and that also went well. And that was also on the pen and paper round. And one more important tip, people here. So when you are giving these kind of interviews, which are pen and paper based, so even if at some point you are not able to find the correct solution, then whatever solution is coming into your mind, then keep writing those solutions or keep writing those ideas on the paper, so that the later when then someone assess your sheets, so the sheets are not completely blank, then he can have that, yeah, something he has attempted. And then the third round was also the coding round. It was with one of the SDE3. So there was a stream based question. So there is a stream of numbers that's coming to you, and you have to find median. That kind of similar kind of question was there. There are a lot of questions on Geeks for Geeks related to this concept only. So, but all the questions, I would say that in the Amazon interview were like, they are already present in the Geeks for Geeks. If someone has like dedicatedly did that, then there is no issue in clearing those rounds.
And guys, there is a lot of these kind of interview experiences we have actually involved in the giveaway that we are throwing today. So make sure you just grab it as soon as possible. And along with that, I would like to also mention that there is a certificate as well involved. So those who are getting the giveaway are also going to get the certificates as well. So no sort of problem over there. Next question we have is from Akash, and I think Akash, we have covered this question during the session. Do you have any specific query? If yes, you can just go ahead and unmute yourself, or else I'm going to move forward to the next question.
Uh, okay, I would like to ask. I have already applied for my resume for Amazon internships off campus, definitely. But they never revert back. I know they have a volume of resumes to go through, but they never revert back when we apply for internships. So how do we get our resume cleared when applying
So
off campus Amazon?
which source do you use to apply? How do you apply
LinkedIn.
there?
I mean, on LinkedIn, it already diverts to the careers website of Amazon.
So it's obvious, Akash. So if you know that there are a lot of resumes, there's a lot of flow of resumes that they receive. So a better choice would be to ask someone already working in the Amazon and refer you there. Then you will have good chances of getting selected for that or getting shortlisted.
Yes,
If
I
a
mean that is the best possible option one should go for, right?
Yeah, yeah. So when we like refer someone, so we can, if I am an employee already working in the company, I can also contact my HR and ask him to uh, take the resume of this candidate and like invite him in the next drive or this. So the employer referral is the best option that anyone can have when applying for these companies. If you can find your senior or someone on LinkedIn who is happy to refer to you, then that's the best option, I think.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Awesome, Akash. We have one last question that is from Prakhar, and he is asking like, is discussing the approach verbally with the interviewer actually helps when someone is unable to write the code in the interview?
So I would like to answer it this way. So when you are given a problem, you have gathered all the requirements from the interview, you start thinking about the problem, right? So the best thing is speak out loud. Like whatever comes into your mind, okay, so this is the tree, right? There are these number of nodes, and what post order will do this, whatever coming in your mind, just speak out loud. The interviewer will say to you that I will be there and writing something on my laptop. He probably be writing some feedback on the laptop while you are solving the problem, but speak out loud. He is listening to you. And whenever you, if you are speaking out loud and you are get stuck somewhere, there are good chances that he may like provide some hint or some help to you. So it's like not an, don't treat it as an typical interview. Make it a kind of a discussion with the interviewer. Involve him in problem solving. Let him be your buddy there, right? He may not solve the problem for you, but he can assist you there, right? He can, if you are stuck somewhere, you can ask for a hint as well sometimes, right? So involve him while you solving the problem. Speak out your mind. That will definitely help you.
Correct, correct. Even a lot of times, interviewer is actually looking towards how someone is approaching towards the solution.
Yes.
They might not be considered, much about whether you achieve the right or the most optimized solution, but what is your approach, how you are actually breaking down the problem into smaller chunks and approaching towards a solution. So that is one great factor which actually helps a lot of students to crack interviews.
Yeah, sure. Correctly said, Sanjay.
Yeah, so Manish, we have pretty much reached the end of the question list from the audience, and if anyone has any questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
I do have one more question if time allows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Sir, so many companies are hiring for the role of analyst as well as software developer. Can you tell the difference between an analyst and a developer? And can we in the future switch from an analyst to developer role?
So I'll answer the first thing first, the second thing first, that switching part. So many companies, if you are switching just 1 year after your work experience, like if you have done 1 year in some company, you are a fresher and there is only you have 1 year of experience, then you can switch to any company from any profile. You will not have much difficulty there. But as the experience increases, say if you have 2 years of experience, then in some profiles you may find difficulty in switching, but still then you can also switch after 2 years. But as the experience increases, you will face difficulty in switching across the branches. Okay, so if you want to switch within first 2 years of your experience. That would work in your favor. And software development is basically developing the products or using like making some web app, making some backend of some service. These kind of things comes into software development, making some platform, right? While the analyst role is completely different, what an analyst do is he works mainly on the data. So he visualizes the data, he gets some kind of insight from data, he like then from that data he produce reports, and then he's kind of a people who like ask the management to take decisions according to those data or according to the insights that he gets from the data. So it's quite different from the software development. He's not building any service, he's not building any product. He's just like analyzing the data, getting insights from it, and like getting requirements from the customer, and then like asking the management to take this decision according to his analysis. So
Got it. So thank you so much.
okay.
Hi Manish.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi,
Can you
Shad.
tell me your yeah. I have one question. Like,
Yeah.
can you tell your experience? Like, you have previously worked in 2 companies.
Yeah.
Can you tell me like why you left them and why you joined Flipkart? How Flipkart is different from those companies, and on which type of project you have worked on, like these?
Okay. So for 1.5 years, I worked in a startup named Aspiring Minds, and there I typically worked as a research engineer, basically machine learning engineer. And I was building a chatbot for them, particularly for their use case, and the project was complete there. And then I got an opportunity with the Samsung. The reason that, according to the reason, can be different for everyone. For me, the reason was the project was complete in the Aspiring Minds, and then I was want to move to some company which has larger scale than Aspiring Minds. So Aspiring Mind as a startup has a small scale at that time. I want to go to some company which has a larger scale. Then I moved to the Samsung, and in the Samsung, the work that I got, I was not very happy with that work. At the same time, I got an opportunity with the Flipkart. So Flipkart was providing the opportunity that I see at that time is like there is a machine learning part and there is a development part as well. Now that is something I really wanted, that I want the knowledge of development as well along with the machine learning. And you know, the Flipkart scale is quite high. Like the amount of the customers that use their platform is awesome. Like they use every stack that needs to be handle the big data. So that's the reason that I switched from that company. So basically, and one more important factor is the compensation also. So if you get a good compensation and if you get a good work also, so then you definitely switch. That was my psychology, the work and the compensation. Yeah.
Thanks, Manish.
Yeah, thanks, Vishal.
Awesome, Manish. So one quick note to everyone, guys, before we just sign off for today is that Helpcut is a small initiative that I've started 3 months back, where I'm bringing in various mentors like Manish we have today, and we have done tons of sessions in the past, and I have many sessions lined up in the future as well. So guys, make sure you follow our social handles and the YouTube channel as well, so that you can keep yourself updated uh, with the sessions we are doing. And also just check out our website, give the feedback on this session, and maybe if someone has attended a previous session, so just go out and feel free to reach out to me anytime, give me feedbacks, because this is something that I'm also learning, and this is my learning curve as well. So I'm open to feedbacks. Connect with me or Manish on LinkedIn. You can just simply search our names and our profile will pop up. So that is all.
And do leave a note while sending the connection request.
For sure. Okay, Manish, one last thing, one last golden tip you would like to share with all of us today, and then we are going to say goodbye.
So one important tip I would like to say is start thinking from the first principle concept. So this is the important tip. So first principle says that if you get a new problem or some complex problem in front of you and you don't know the solution, then break down that problem into smaller problems until for a problem you can say that, okay, for this problem, I know what's the solution. I'm definitely sure about this. Then you take that solution, then you build over that solution, and at finally you find the solution of the complex problem. So never get like confused when you get a complex problem. Just break it down, use the first principle concept. It's a very good way of thinking.
Very, very nicely put. I would like to add on to that. Never get disheartened with any rejections, because there are tons of companies hiring even in COVID times and pre and post COVID as well, because technologies are going to expand, data is going to expand. So never get disheartened and just keep on applying to n number of companies, and one or the other is definitely going to hire you. So not a big deal. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Manish, for giving us time, especially on a weekend. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, Sanchit, for inviting. Thanks everybody for joining today.
Awesome. Then we'll say goodbye for today. Bye bye, guys.
Bye everyone.